You know, in early education, what if I told you there was one fundamental skill that acts like an early warning system for a child's entire reading journey? It's this incredibly powerful indicator that can tell us years ahead of time who might struggle and who's really on the path to becoming a strong reader. And I'm not exaggerating here. Researchers, educators, they all agree. Mastering this one skill, especially in kindergarten and first grade, is the single best predictor of how well a child's going to read for years. Seriously, the stakes couldn't be higher.
So what is this critical skill? It's called phonemic awareness. Now I know that sounds a little technical, but the idea behind it is actually super simple. It's just the ability to hear and kind of play with the individual sounds and words. We're not talking about letters on a page here, but the actual sounds you hear. So for example, knowing that the word cat is made up of 3 distinct sounds, k, a, t.
And how do we even measure this? Well, there's this quick 60-second assessment called the Phoneme Segmentation Fluency Test, or PSF for short. A teacher says a word, and the student has to break it down into its individual sounds. The thing is, it's a total race against the clock to see how many sounds a student can correctly identify in that one single minute. Okay, and this brings us to the central mystery of all this. If we know how important this is, and we know exactly how to test for it, why have student scores in so many places just stalled out? Kids aren't making the progress we'd expect on this crucial test. So, what's really going on?
Well, it turns out, the problem isn't what you might think. It's not usually a lack of knowledge. The students can hear the sounds. The real issue, it's this subtle but absolutely critical gap between how they're taught to practice in the classroom and what the test actually demands.
This right here shows you exactly what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got the correct, super efficient response. The teacher says cat, and the student immediately says k, a, t. Boom, done. But look over on the right. This is what we call the repetition trap. The teacher says cat, and the student goes cat, k, a, t, cat. See that? They still get the sounds right, but they've added all this extra time-wasting chatter. And this is the whole key. That little bit of extra talk, it's a total score killer. You got to remember, that PSF test is only 60 seconds. That's it. Every single moment spent repeating the word cat is time lost for segmenting the next word. This one simple habit can tank a student's score, making it look like they don't know the material when really it's a pacing problem. All right, so how do we fix this? It all starts with looking at the data a little differently. Instead of just seeing a score as, green for passing or red for failing, educators can actually analyze the types of errors students are making to find the real root cause. And when you dig into those errors, you start to see these specific patterns. For instance, is the student always dropping the short vowel sound, turning map into just m, p? Or are they having a hard time with blends, hearing stop as 2 chunks, s and top? Or hey, maybe they just run out of steam and drop that final sound. Each pattern points to a totally different instructional need. So once you've spotted the pattern, you can address it with some really targeted, high-efficiency instruction. There are 4 simple but powerful moves teachers can make to get their classroom practice lined up perfectly with what the assessment is actually measuring. First, you explicitly teach students to eliminate the echo. No more repeating the whole word, just go straight to the sounds. Second, you model rapid-fire pacing to build up the speed and automaticity they need. Third, and this is huge, when a student makes an error, you give immediate and specific feedback, right then and there. And finally, you use that classic I do, we do, you do model to show them exactly what speed and accuracy should look and sound like. So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's that a tiny, seemingly insignificant detail in teaching, like whether or not a child repeats a word, can have a massive, outsized impact on their test scores and ultimately on the support they get. Precision in instruction matters a lot.
And that really makes you think, right? If something this simple can be so widely missed, it leaves us with a fascinating question. What other critical details in education might be out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to notice?